Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to the second episode of Thursday Thoughts, and our topic today is vulnerability. I am your host, Banele Tshabalala. Look, I've been checking out the previous podcast, the very first podcast, and I realized that the reception was extremely higher than I expected. Not to say that I underestimated myself. Let's just say I didn't overvalue what I could offer. I undervalued it. Whatever that means. Look, all the interactions on the topic and people looking forward to what comes next really humbled me. And I would like to firstly say, my bad. I should have released that a long time ago. But we are here now, and the listenership and the interaction is actually quite encouraging. And with that being said, it leads me to today's actual topic, which is vulnerability. So before I even continue on with that, what is being vulnerable? What is vulnerability in its sense? So when you look at it, being vulnerable, I'm going to paraphrase in my understanding as a human being. Being vulnerable is all about being open and allowing people to actually have a scope or a magnifying glass or put you under a microscope, and you are open enough to say, let's do it and showcase. With that being said, it is not the most comfortable of things. I can tell you that. When you are truly, truly vulnerable, you are open up to a lot of criticism, you're open up to understanding a lot of faults. With that being said, it's easy for one of the biggest cons that come up with being vulnerable is people looking at you as possibly weak because you are vulnerable. Because when we think about strength or somebody who's in the position of power, they need to be impenetrable. We think of a dome of steel, something that you can't get through, that's very tough, and that's something that's vulnerable, and that's leadership. And when you look at somebody who's also vulnerable, sometimes there's also this connotation that they are unsure, because for you to be a little bit, what's the word? Maybe brittle or fickle. It also seems like it's a little bit taken like you are weak, and vulnerability, people don't see that. They don't see the leader in you. So actual facts, another thing that comes up is you're not a leader if you're vulnerable. And that sometimes makes it hard for people who would benefit from vulnerability actually shy away from it. But on the other side, of course, there's always two sides of the coin. The pro of being vulnerable is with the right mindset, the right people in your crowd, or right audience at least, they would actually see you as open and also as inviting, which allows you to take more people through with you in your journey. With that being said, you can also be looked at, seen upon as an inclusive leader because you're vulnerable enough to ask and get the feedback and then take that feedback in a positive manner to get better and reiterate and improve upon what was actually lacking, because life is all about improvements. That's my belief. And with that being said, it also showcases the growth mindset. And when you look at it, you can't grow without actually understanding or getting feedback from what you actually have done, understanding your mistakes also. So make no mistake here, both men and women can be vulnerable. And depending on how you take the feedback and actually lead as a leader, this can be viewed in a positive manner. So I'm just going to let you know how this topic came about. Last week, I did the podcast, the first episode, put it out there. And I also was vulnerable enough and open enough to send it to someone who gave me some feedback, constructive feedback. And as they were giving it to me, I was actually taking notes, saying, okay, for this next episode, this is how I'm going to record. These are the words I'm going to be very cognizant about not to utilize. This is what I'm actually going to touch on. This is how long the actual podcast is going to be. And I'm going to add this, I'm going to add that, I'm going to remove that. And I actually said to her, look, I now have the second episode. You just gave it to me. And look, vulnerability, it is all about growth. And that's it for today's podcast. But before I go, think about it. What's your relationship with vulnerability? And are you vulnerable enough to lean into your growth? Catch you guys next time. Banele Tshabalala. Thursday Thoughts.